G'day, welcome back to DC Extra. My name is Chris. Today we are going to be breaking down DC Studios' Supergirl, starring Millie Alcock, directed by Craig Gillespie. And in case it needs to be said, there will be major spoilers ahead. So if you haven't watched the movie, head on down to your local cinema and then come back to this breakdown after. With that out of the way, let's get right into it. This movie opens aboard Kara's ship as Krypto knocks over the needle on a turntable. This starts the song called This Summer by the Sleigh Bells. The now playing song wakes up Kara, who congratulates Krypto on peeing on the newspaper. She gets up and makes herself a coffee and listens to a video message from her cousin Kal-El, asking when she will be back, but she cuts it off, ignoring the rest of his message. She enters the cockpit of the ship and takes off to visit another planet with a red sun. She gets drunk in a bar and parties, before awakening on the floor of her ship covered in some clothing. She decides to visit a yellow sun next and play some fetch with Krypto in the vacuum of space. We switch focus and visit the planet Holzer, in a solar system with a red sun. This planet was actually named after the editor of the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic series, Brittany Holzer. We are introduced to the Maryknoll family, as intergalactic pirates, known as the Brigands, come over for a visit. Ruthie Maryknoll watches as her parents Elias and Delilah greet Krem and various other brigands as they offer up their weapons they constructed. Ruthie's brother Emmond, however, notices her lurking and tries to scare her, only to get himself killed and to start a fight between Krem and Ruthie's parents. Her mother is swatted away quickly, while her father has time to activate some remote detonators that blows up Krem's ship. Krem kills Ruthie's father, but leaves her alive. The brigands leave her house, leaving her as the only survivor of this massacre. Ruthie buries her family nearby, under a pile of rocks each to mark their graves. Already in this first scene, we can see the depth Eve Ridley brings to the character of Ruthie, conveying her sheer devastation, yet her determination to get revenge. Elsewhere on Holzer, Kara visits yet another bar. She toasts to her 23rd birthday, hoping that this year will be better than the previous 23. She wonders if she should stay on this planet, living under a red sun for the foreseeable future, in order to properly feel things, aka get drunk. She plugs her iPod into a stereo and begins playing some songs, though not for long as Krypto gets tangled in the cord and stops the music. At this time, Ruthie enters the bar and announces herself.
I am Ruthie Maryknoll of the Dynastia clan, and I come here with one purpose: to seek revenge against Krem of the Yellow Hills, a brigand who has trespassed onto our planet, murdered my innocent and honourable family in cold blood.
Offering up her father's sword as a reward. One large alien has a seemingly better idea and steals the sword, overpowering the small girl. Seeing this altercation, Kara steps in to help, finding the thief and giving Ruthie back her sword. Despite her help in this one case, Kara turns Ruthie down when she asks for her help on her quest for vengeance. The next morning, Kara awakens on her ship, talking over a video call to Clark, who is back on Earth. He asks when she will come back, but she doesn't have an answer for him, unsure if she even will. A knock on her door cuts their call short. Standing at the door is Ruthie once again, asking for Kara's help in killing Krem, who she mistakenly calls Krem.
Some guy named Krem, yeah.
Kara declines, but Ruthie follows her inside, trying to convince her. She sees the state of Kara's ship and thinks that she was attacked, but no, she's just really that messy. Among her belongings, we see her suit, which looks clearly neglected. Kara uses her ship's toilet with the door wide open and falls asleep, only to be woken up by Ruthie. Kara starts up her ship, getting ready to leave the planet. Before departing, she takes Krypto outside to use the toilet himself, but whilst outside, Krem and his fellow brigands quietly board the ship. Krypto is the first to notice this and charges directly at Krem, not anticipating being struck with an arrow and stopped in his tracks. The brigands fly away in Kara's ship, leaving her stuck for the time being and in need of getting her dog medical attention. Kara and Ruthie take him to what I can only assume is the alien equivalent of a vet, where the nurse tells them that Krypto has been poisoned by the arrow, and without the antidote, he will die in 3 days. The only known cure is carried by Krem, meaning Kara now needs to track him down for her own motives. Despite their now shared objective to find Krem, Kara tells Ruthie to stay behind and look after Krypto, while she takes to outer space in the hunt for him. Despite her many protests, they end up going their separate ways. Kara waits at a bus terminal as she recalls her mother's funeral, where she first met her friend Krypto, worried that she will lose the only family member she has left unless she can find Krem and get the cure. Kara finds a ride off the planet in a space bus with its driver Lloyd. The passengers on this vehicle all look quite tired and while a little bit shady. Some of them appear to be using bongs and smoking what I can only assume are some sort of illicit drugs. While in transit to her destination, Kara notices an altercation taking place. Investigating, she sees that Ruthie has gotten herself into more trouble, somehow managing to sneak aboard the bus and now aggravated a fellow passenger by placing a bag at her feet, which in her culture is a way to say that someone's mother is a whore. Kind of a weird culture, that one. Kara steps in to keep Ruthie safe once again, intimidating her adversary, making her back off. Ruthie thanks Kara and sits with her for the next part of their journey. The bus is stopped suddenly by Sklarian raiders, a group of scavengers who steal their ship's engines and board the bus to take the passengers' personal belongings. At first, Kara plays along, but secretly she steals one of their teleportation devices. She offers a trade, her items back for the device, but instead they attack Kara. Using the device, Kara teleports to various places in the bus, dodging their attacks and even causing them to hit each other on a number of occasions. This, however, doesn't work for too long, as she gets trapped in an airlock eventually. Seeing she is in close proximity to a yellow sun, she comes up with a plan. Using a suit that she's trapped with, she puts it on, planning to get her powers back and then come back to take care of the raiders. However, one of them notices her and throws her out of the airlock before Kara has a chance to finish putting on the suit. Unpowered, in the cold depths of space, Kara begins freezing over. Fortunately, she drifts towards a beam of yellow sunlight, powering her up, allowing her to now go on the attack. The Sklarian raiders fight Kara, first utilizing drones, which she makes quick work of, and then using their own ship's cannons to blast her. Smartly, Kara flies away, making them follow her, leading them away from the bus and closer in proximity to the yellow sun, powering her even further. The raiders shoot a laser at Kara, but she meets it with her own. Overpowering their weapons, she dodges a few more attacks before stealing their engines and destroying their guns. Now safe from the raiders, the bus makes its way towards a spaceport, where they have a chance to get off and have something to eat. While there, Kara and Ruthie talk to the pilot of the ship, or at least his little companion. They ask where they can find the brigands, but the only advice he has to offer is that the raiders may know. Fortunately, they left them tied up back on the bus. Kara questions them, using the threat of breaking their spines as motivation for them to give up a location for Krem, that being a planet he goes to often, to kidnap girls that they use to continue their all-male race. Now with this vital bit of information, they head out for the planet called Bilkus. But first, Kara finds a spacesuit for Ruthie, allowing them to travel without the bus and presumably much faster.
Don't freak out. Why would I? I'm not freaking out.
You're not freaking out.
I'm not freaking out.
Seems to me like you're freaking out.
Kara flies the pair of them to Bilkus. A note to make here is that the planet name of Bilkus is actually named after the artist on the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow series, Bilkus Everly. Kara flies them to this planet. Landing on the surface, she allows Ruthie to struggle on the floor before helping her up. They head toward a bar on the planet to ask its patrons how to contact the brigands. Kara suggests an arm wrestle. Should she win, they give her the information she wants, but upon breaking her opponent's arm, she gets into a fight. First, she makes sure Ruthie is safe, and then goes on the attack. She incapacitates enough of them that the rest leave. This leaves only the staff and a select few unbothered patrons left in the bar. Kara and Ruthie sit back down, and while talking, they notice a notorious bounty hunter known as Lobo passing them by. Kara tells Ruthie that he's an immortal with a god complex who killed off his entire planet. This refers to his comic book origin, where he is from a planet called Caesania, and while in high school he killed off every member of his planet for a science experiment, giving himself an A for his accomplishment. Among his power set includes incredible strength, accelerated healing that can regenerate his body from even a single cell, making him truly immortal. Lobo is played by Jason Momoa in this movie, who you may previously have known as Aquaman in the DC EU. Here though, he truly shines in this role, finally playing the part he wanted to all those years ago. The ever-positive Ruthie wants to work with him when she hears that he too is looking for the brigands. Ruthie confronts Lobo, but just gets herself into another spot of trouble. Kara steps in to save her by annoying Lobo into submission.
You're hurting my head.
He leaves the bar, now allowing Kara and Ruthie to question the staff, who claim to know someone who can get them in contact with the brigands. They take Kara and Ruthie to their home, offering them a place to lay low in the meantime. During this time, Kara and Ruthie get to talking, and Kara explains her history of how Krypton didn't die in a day, and how she came to be on Earth. She asks what Superman is like as well. Kara just says that he is naive. We flash back to approximately 30 years before, to witness the destruction of Krypton from the point of view of Zor-El and his wife Allura Nz. Allura glances out a window, taking in the beauty of a tree just outside. This tree with its red leaves, I believe, is a reference to a tree Kara talked about in Woman of Tomorrow, with red and blue leaves that she tries to find elsewhere in the universe, but always falls short of. Zor-El enters the room, and the ground begins to shake. He says that the planet's destruction has begun, and he has initiated his plan to save themselves and their fellow citizens of Argo. Zor-El and Allura run towards a building in the center of the city, where an atmospheric shield generator has been constructed. As they enter, they witness a small spacecraft leaving the planet, knowing that it houses their nephew, Kal-El. The shield activates, engulfing the city in a protective dome, saving approximately 18,000 lives, or at least that's the number they use in the comic. These being the last sons and daughters of Krypton. 8 years later, Zor-El and Allura have a daughter they name Kara. She grows up knowing nothing but Argo, hearing stories of their old home, but knowing nothing of the horrors they witnessed when it was destroyed. Kara grows up having a seemingly normal life until her mother gets sick with radiation poisoning, an ailment that ultimately kills her, leaving her daughter with the last words of "be good." Kara and Zor-El have a funeral for her, where Kara meets her new best friend Krypto, but their mourning cannot last too long, as the radiation that poisoned her mother emanates from the very ground beneath them, slowly killing everyone else. Knowing there is nothing that he can do to stop the radiation, Zor-El instead puts his efforts towards constructing a ship based on his brother's designs, capable of transporting Kara to Earth, where she would meet with her older cousin. Kara says a hard goodbye to her father, with the parting advice to help others in need. Kara and Krypto climb into the spacecraft and launch into the depths of space, leaving behind the only home she has ever known. Back in the present day, Kara gets impatient and goes down to see what is taking so long. There she is offered some tea, however it has been poisoned and begins weakening her. Noticing brigands landing outside, she quickly tries to throw up to get the poison out. This doesn't work quickly enough though, as she gets into a fight before she gets back to full strength. She holds off the brigands in her near vicinity, but upon hearing Ruthie in trouble, she breaks through the roof like the Kool-Aid Man.
Oh yeah!
Outnumbered, she takes the two of them out of a window and to safety. Kara tells Ruthie to stay put while she battles the brigands. At that same moment, their ships are cut down and plummet towards the ground. Krem catches one of them above his head, giving us a glance at his strength. The cut down ships are opened and the kidnapped women start pouring out, so Kara goes to protect them, while Lobo does his own thing, looking for his bounty hunter named Drum Baxton. The two work together and send the brigands running. However, in the meantime, Ruthie has been following Krem, who stayed apart from his fellow brigands. She sneaks up on him, about to strike, but Kara intervenes, saving Krem in order to not give up her chance at getting the antidote for Krypto. She goes back to find him, but he has already escaped back to his ship that quickly teleports away before Kara can get to it. Angry that she let him go, Ruthie lashes out at Kara, saying that she wants to kill Krem and free herself of the pain she feels, not wanting to spend the rest of her life in grief as Kara does. The two go their separate ways once again, Kara taking in all the devastation from the brigands. She flies up into space and lets out a primal scream, which we don't hear of course, because there is no sound in space. She flies back to the ground to interrogate an alien she hilariously calls Squidward. He agrees to take Kara to the brigands, and they go to a planet called Barraton, which not only has a yellow sun, but also a green one, which does not power Kryptonians, but instead weakens them, having effects similar to that of kryptonite. This is pulled almost directly out of the Woman of Tomorrow comic, where Kara and Ruthie get trapped on a planet of the same name, and Kara must fight through the agonizing pain of the kryptonite sun, lasting 10 hours, where her cousin Superman lasted only 45 minutes before his Justice League friends saved him. Lying unconscious, we flash back to Kara for the first time arriving on Earth, where Superman greets her, showing her new home and planet. We see their apartment across the street from the Daily Planet. Seems like this might have been from a little while ago, as by the end of the movie, she's living in a different looking place. Kara awakens, still in pain, to find Ruthie has rescued her, having snuck aboard the ship that brought Kara to Barraton. She found Kara and then brought her to a cave for protection. Ruthie offers Kara her suit, which she rescued from her ship that was left on Bilky, thinking it might offer her some sort of protection, but unfortunately it is just clothing, giving her no resistance to the green sunlight. Kara asks her for some water, so Ruthie goes down to a nearby lake to find some, but while there she's ambushed by some brigands, and they take her prisoner aboard the ship. Trapped in a cell, Ruthie attempts to climb the bars, only to find out they are covered in poison. In the cell next to her is Lobo, who appears to have been captured too, but he seems unbothered by this minor inconvenience. Krem comes to interrogate Ruthie, proposing letting her live in return for telling him where Kara is. She spits on this offer, quite literally, in turn sentencing herself to death. Shortly after, Ruthie begs a prisoner guard to let her out and take her to Krem, promising to tell him what he wants. However, this was all a ploy, just to get him to open the cage, and she attacks the guard, taking him down, taking his keys, freeing herself and Lobo. Ruthie sneaks aboard the brigand ship, finding her sword, and then making her way to the top deck to find Krem. Meanwhile, Kara continues to lay unconscious, remembering the lessons taught to her by her mother, father, and cousin, all of them stressing the importance of being good and looking out for people who cannot help themselves. The green sun dips below the horizon as its yellow counterpart takes its place, healing Kara and powering her back up. On the top deck of the brigand's ship, Ruthie attempts to escape, but is caught by Krem. He prepares to kill her with her own sword. She tells him he better be quick, as she is seeing Kara flying in the sky behind him, fully kitted out in her suit for the first time in this movie, going a full 1 hour and 22 minutes before we ever see her as Supergirl. She engages the brigands, attacking Krem, while Ruthie finds safety, dangling hundreds of meters above the ground. So safety may be a bit of an overrated word there. Kara fights to the best of her ability, but is shot by kryptonite arrows, weakening her once again. Just as Drum Baxton is about to kill her, Lobo takes his head, saving our Girl of Steel.
Gotcha, bastard!
Lobo throws Krem off the side of the ship, where he catches himself on the same rope Ruthie hangs off, putting them in close proximity to each other. Lobo departs, throwing some grenades on his way out and destroying the ship's engine, bringing it crashing down. Kara, still partially weakened by the kryptonite, struggles to fight off the brigands as they crash into the water. Meanwhile, Ruthie and Krem jump off, landing on some solid ground. With the ship about to land on their heads, they make a run for it. Just as it looks like Ruthie is about to be crushed by the falling ship, Kara rises out of the water and, powered by the yellow sunlight, flies towards her comrade, saving her. Ruthie reminds Kara of the girls still trapped inside the ship, so being the hero she is, she rushes in to save them. Left on her own, Ruthie is surrounded by the brigands. Before Krem can kill her though, Supergirl arrives back on the scene, thrashing him over and over again, and then takes the fight to the rest of the brigands. This actually makes for a really awesome sequence. The brigands, who are all circling Ruthie, are attacked as we witness it from Ruthie's point of view. Kara flies around at super speed, taking down the brigands, with flashes of red hot heat vision shooting out at various moments, and explosions perfectly missing Ruthie. Bringing it a bit closer to home, Supergirl goes for some hand-to-hand combat, and the recently freed girls even get their shot at the brigands. This whole fight was scored by Kelty Gray and Kid Motel's cover of The Middle, making for quite a memorable sequence. With the brigands down for the count, Ruthie makes her way to Krem to deliver her killing blow, only for Kara to get there to talk her down, saying that the burden of killing someone will stick with her for her whole life, saying that her life will be revenge enough.
You are Ruthie Murnau of the Dynastia clan. Your family is with you, even now. Your life will be a revenge.
She backs down only for Kara to deliver a killing blow, while Lobo watches proud in the distance. Just one point on her killing Krem here. This is not exactly how it played out in the comics. In the comic, we had kind of two different endings. One true ending and one fake ending. The fake one is in the point of view of a book that Ruthie wrote in order to portray the events in a way that the rest of the galaxy would know, while the true events are only known to Ruthie and Kara. In that fake ending, Kara does indeed kill Krem, but in the real ending, she sends him to the Phantom Zone. So I'm wondering if this whole movie, and specifically this ending, is from the perspective of Ruthie, as we do see a number of times when Kara is fighting that we do stay in the point of Ruthie. Just a bit of a thought, and it's kind of interesting to consider. Kara takes the antidote from Krem's dying body and delivers it to Krypto back on Holzer, who makes a quick recovery and is very excited to see his friend. Preparing to depart Holzer for the last time this movie, Ruthie and Kara say goodbye to each other. Ruthie saying that she's going to go live with her aunt and make swords, just as her father did. On a whim, Kara invites Ruthie to finish celebrating her birthday with her, going off planet for a few more days, this time without the quest for vengeance. Kara arrives back on Earth after her celebrations and is greeted by her cousin in a seemingly new apartment, different from the one we saw earlier on in the film. This is actually the same one we see in last year's Superman though, so it is about a year they've had this, assuming that last year's Superman is set in 2025 and this one is set in 2026. Kara says she is going to stay for a while, finally finding peace with her new home in the galaxy. However, Clark is a bit less than happy to have Krypto staying with him once again. And that is actually where this movie ends. We don't get any form of post-credit scene in this one, not setting up Man of Tomorrow in any way, shape or form. Overall, this was a fairly enjoyable movie, but I was slightly disappointed. That is to say, I was hoping for a more faithful adaptation of the comic book, as it was a masterpiece in my opinion, and I believe that even keeping 10% more in line with its events and themes would have further enhanced this movie. Obviously, there are certain parts that might not work as well. Like the kryptonite sun was constructed by Superman's enemies, but considering Superman isn't known around the galaxy in this new universe, that can't really follow in this movie, so they had to change it a bit. But it's more just about the characters and their motivations and connections to each other that fell a bit flat for me in this movie. Mostly in the way of Krem. He just didn't seem to be that much of a threat in this movie, being a bit of a one-sided villain. Anyway, that is it for today's video though. I hope you did enjoy it. And I'm going to be working on a follow-up video exploring all the similarities and differences between the comic book and this movie. I did just want to get this video out as soon as possible for you guys to enjoy, and then I'll go even more in depth in a follow-up. In the meantime, if you do want more from the Girl of Steel, consider checking out her adventures in the new season of My Adventures with Superman. And if you did like this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing so YouTube knows to recommend you more stuff like this. But anyway, until next time, this has been Chris, and I'll be seeing you.